Hey, motivators, it is today, and I've got somebody sitting next to me, Heather, who's normally in the background. Say hi, Heather, like you normally do.
Hello.
There it is. So, really special treat tonight. We're excited to have another couple on board with us today to talk about their family and how they make it in life. And I think this will be really neat for anybody who is just trying to get some advice and figure out how to make maybe the dual military life work, maybe a blended family, or maybe you have a special family member that you're just trying to figure out how to make everything work. And Heather and I are just going to sit down with Rob and Steph Weaver today, and we're just going to talk about our families. And we're both open books, both families are, and we're just going to chat. And I'm hoping that you'll take something away from this and be able to use it for yourself, right? And we do have the comment section open. You have to let StreamYard in, so that you can comment. But if you want to ask some questions of Rob and Steph, or even Heather and I through the next half hour, 45 minutes to an hour, however long, we just want to chew the fat, then please feel free to mention, talk, whatever, throw some questions at us. And we're going to tackle, family members, marriage, life in the military, and being dual military for Steph and Rob, and a lot of other stuff. So here we go. Let's add them to the stream. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Doing
Great.
Good? Yeah?
I'm good.
All right. So welcome to Motivate with Iz, another episode of Leadership Jam Session. As I was just talking to you in the pre-show conversation, this is just something that's extremely organic. I was chatting with somebody one time on live video, and it just kind of became this thing where we decided that a leadership jam session was something that maybe other people could take some nuggets of knowledge and use them to create a better world in their world. So we're just going to chat for a while and get to know you. Most people kind of know me because I don't ever shut up. So let's talk about you two for a little while.
Tell them how you met.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about stuff. So I'm wearing the shirt today, USS New York. So Steph and I served on board the USS New York together. And it was a great couple years. I got to know, admire, and respect Steph. This is what I know about you, Steph. This is some of the things that I find very that I admire about you. Number one, you're extremely strong in your faith. Steph, the one moment that I cherish very much so is that Steph and I got to pray in the garden temple at Gethsemane. I think that's what it's called. But where and I know that Chaps Bernard actually liked our post today, and I'm hoping he's watching because he was on that trip with us to Jerusalem as well. So I know you're very strong in your faith. I admire that about you. You are a dedicated spouse, and you are a dedicated chief petty officer, senior chief petty officer, actually. And you are a dedicated mother. And, your dedication to being a servant to others is one of the greatest things that we could ever say about anybody, I think. And you truly have that in spades. So that's kind of my rundown on Stephanie Weaver. Rob, I don't know as well because Steph and I were underway all the time, and I didn't get to know Rob that well.
Good brisket, though. I make great brisket.
Yes, you do. And Rob's also active duty. He is. Are you a warrant? You're a warrant, or no? Yeah, you're a warrant. And W4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that means he's a rock star and has been advanced a whole bunch of times. We're not even going to get into that don't blow his head up, right? So
calls me a quitter.
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. As a command master chief, I have to be really careful about calling people quitters because they get all offended and junk and think that I don't like the wardroom. So that is not the fact. I absolutely love the wardroom, and I respect everybody's choices and decisions in life. Just do me a favor and don't tell me you didn't do it for the money. Okay? We can move on from there.
I miss it every day. Every day I miss it.
All right. So tell us something about you that maybe that I don't know or Heather doesn't know that tell me about the strength of your relationship and how you all make a dual military relationship work.
We talk about Team Weaver a lot. And we really like sports and, again, go Dogs, right? Got to get a little shout out there. But when we talk about Team Weaver, gosh, I didn't think I was going to get like emotional or anything like that. We talked about this. It's a team effort. There is not a job in our house that is not like, it's not like, hey, you know what, Stephanie's in charge of the dishes, I'm in charge of the yard work. It is a team effort. There are days that Rob is doing dishes or folding laundry. I'm out there weed whacking or, we just did a project last week with picking 4 yards of rock to the backyard.
8 tons. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But we have to be a team. Our kids are part of that team. There is not anything that we would do differently with, how we've raised them, because we've had a couple of situations in our careers where one of us are deployed, and so we don't have the luxury of not knowing how to do something or not used to doing something. So that was really relevant when Nathaniel was first diagnosed with autism. We were finishing up our deployment, and when I came back, it was amazing. Rob had the house kept together, it wasn't on fire, the kids were all alive, and that's exactly how we approach everything. It is a team effort. There's not one job that we do alone.
And what do you do with a team? You motivate. So not to steal your phrase.
No, that's great. That's perfect.
We wake up in the morning when we go and turn his lights on at 5 o'clock to wake a 7-year-old up at 5 o'clock. You've got to motivate him. And we start that early and we're motivating throughout the day. We come home in the evening. He wants to come home from the school bus and he wants to go right to the pool in his underwear. Hey, if that's what motivates him, do it,
Yeah.
So, it is constant Team Weaver motivating.
So you already mentioned it. That was gonna be the big one we tackle at the end. But Steph, I've got this. I believe it or not, this is my pen that I use. I don't think it's focusing in there, but there it is. That's Steph's pen that she gave me the last time we saw each other when we had dinner in Millington, and. You have a son who's got autism, and you also have 3 other children. Tyler, who's in the Navy, he's on the USS Lincoln, and he's a ABEAN, and he is working his tail off right now on that aircraft carrier. Good for him, and thank you, Tyler, for your service. I too have a Tyler on an aircraft carrier who is working his tail off, and I don't know if everybody watching watched the video that I did a couple weeks with Tyler. I was giving him a hard time about his enlisted surface warfare pin, which he has since achieved. So, yay, Tyler. He is now working on his air pin. He was supposed to take his exam while he was underway this week. So he better get that doggone pin too. I'll probably stab him with this pen if he doesn't get it. So, and then we have Kyle, who just graduated. And then I can't even read my own writing. Carly. I can't read my own writing. Carly, who is 16. And then Nathaniel, who is 7, who has autism. So how do you juggle all that? Let's get to let's add another piece of this puzzle, right? Your Steph, Nathaniel's your child. So this is a blended family. The other 3 are not. They're Rob's kids. So Rob, you and I are in the same boat, right? Right. You're on your 3rd marriage, and so am I, and that's okay, because you're probably just like me, man. You had to live in hell, and then you had to live in purgatory to live in heaven with your own angels, right?
True story.
Right. So feel free to shamelessly steal that one.
I got it.
Yeah. So how do you manage that? How do the 2 of you juggle the blended family, and how are the kids with Nathaniel? How does that work out? You know, big brothers and sisters are always great, but how does that work out?
So we'll have to take it back a little bit and give you a little bit of background. So again, I remember getting an email from Rob, I think about a month left of our deployment in 2015, saying, hey, I need you to give me a call. So I called him and he said, hey, I went and took Nathaniel to the doctor today, and they have to take you fill out these forms asking a million questions. You know, is your kid sitting up? Is he talking? Is he saying more than 5 words? You know, anyway, he didn't pass. And they said, hey, you need to go take him to get referred to an autism specialist. Well, there's one autism specialist in Jacksonville. And this kind of leads into like I guess, how we do it with dual military. You know, I've been in for 17 years and Rob been 22 years, right? So you think that we should know about the EFM program. Well, once we got that diagnosis, we were lost. We were completely confused.
EFM is exceptional family member, right? Which is a program that the military has to help out families with people who have special needs in their in the family, whether it be children or spouses, or even if it's a parent that lives with you that has special needs. So I'm sorry, I just got to make sure.
No, I forgot. I again, instructor training 101. I should have done it, but my MTS, right?
Yeah.
No, but master training specialist. But no, anyway. So you know, they originally gave us once we got the diagnosis and everything, and this kind of goes into how we juggle everything. They gave us 40 hours of, it's called ABA therapy, applied behavior analysis therapy, and it's really kind of changing the way Nathaniel behaves and how he acts through like repetition. And you know, you notice on the haircut video, which you know we had posted on our Facebook page, you know, give Nathaniel a haircut, we divert a lot. You know, if he's having a moment, we try to divert to something else to get him off of that moment so he doesn't have a meltdown. But 40 hours of that, and then an hour of occupational therapy and an hour of speech therapy. So we're like, 40 hours, that's a full-time job. How are we going to fit in 40 hours? And we would sit down, again, this goes back to, you know, how we work as a team, you know, and how when we talk to other people that, you know, have, you know, EFM, either children or family members, you know, we had to plan out, okay, I can work 2 hours today on his ABA therapy. Okay, tomorrow you can be home for 3 hours of it. And, you know, that's really kind of, we plan every single day, almost down to the hour. And it sounds crazy. And we were on such a routine until this last March, and then COVID hit. And we were like, we didn't know what to do. And so we had to figure out a new way to do it. But, you know, it could be, it could be, I can't think of anything that we don't plan. It sounds kind of maybe crazy, maybe sometimes a little pathetic to some people, but we really plan. We have to. Nathaniel does not take surprises easy. There's no way I'm getting that kid up, you know, 5 minutes before the bus gets here. We might as well just take that day as a wash. So fun is a big key of it.
Okay, so how do the siblings help out? How does that work? No, yeah, that's all right. I'll keep you on track.
Yeah. So, and again, it's kind of a long story, you know, because so then, you know, again, going back to 2015, we got custody of Kyle and Carly. Tyler lived out there with in San Diego with his mom, and had finished high school and was kind of doing his own thing, maybe he was trying to go to college and stuff. But we got Kyle and Carly, and at first, I don't think they understood. They look at Nathaniel as a brother. And I'm going to get emotional talking about this. I'm not going to, but anyway, they look at him as a brother. They don't see anything different. And then so once he got diagnosed, and we had to explain it to him, they were heartbroken. But we really have to try to take extra time to spend time with them so that they know that they are just as important as Nathaniel. But there's times that we've had to leave amusement parks, county fairs, lots of events that we've taken all the kids to because Nathaniel he was having a moment. He just, you know, I think it was at a an aquarium, and Nathaniel like full on met them. And we were so embarrassed because we knew the kids, you know, people are going to look at you and stare at you and make these crazy faces at you.
Mm-hmm.
But we were worried about the kids and how the kids were going to react. But the kids were like, it's fine. Not a big deal, you know. But we try to make sure that they feel just as important as Nathaniel is, because they are, you know, but they don't see that Nathaniel's a half brother. That's their brother. And they'll pick on him, but they'll defend him, you know, just as hard. So, yeah.
And he loves him just as much. There's times that he would, you know, leave from us, you know, scolding him or doing whatever to go and confide with the brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he seeks refuge in them like a natural, you know, full brother or sister would. We really hit the blended family jackpot, if you will. It was a long road to have Nathaniel. It was just a long process, you know. And when we had gotten out here and had the kids move in, it was an overnight success. You know, we can't say anything other than, you know, it was God's favor, honestly. So
awesome. So we watched you have this amazing 26-minute video that you did live so that the grandparents could watch in, and you were cutting his hair. And all I could say is that I understand 6% versus 1%.
Yeah.
I had a son who came to live with me when he was 12, and his hair was about 50% when he came to live with me, and I slowly but surely worked it down to about 1%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think that's the and for those watching, this video is absolutely amazing. It's 26 minutes of your display of patience and kindness with him, and just letting him feel his way through the moment or the emotions that he's having. And for a child who is autistic, I can't imagine. You know, my son had some needs when he was younger, but not on that level. We shared a story in the video that we did a couple weeks ago where I literally had, I don't know if we talked about it specifically, about teaching him how to run.
I think we did.
Yeah, I had to teach him how to run, whether or not he was going to be heel toe runner or a toe runner, because his mind wouldn't connect with the muscles, and he's got a fine motor skill issues. So we had to work through that. And so in this video, you're cutting his hair, and he equates a lot of things. You could tell he knows what 100% is. And right. Yeah. That's like one of the ways he makes sense of the world. So do you use that a lot? Is that something that, I mean, how do you get through to him besides just a whole bunch of love and patience?
We, and again, this is all stuff that we learned. I mean, there's not a quick handbook that they give you when your child is diagnosed with autism and said, okay, here you go. And getting back in how we learned and how to do this process, and you know why we always want to give back to the junior sailors, because we know the questions to ask. You know, we're more upfront. You know, we know that if we walk into a room, there is a little bit more attention that is given to a senior chief or a warrant officer than the E1, and we don't think that that's right. That's our family members. They should be at an equal level. You know, maybe I get a different birthing. Maybe he gets to eat in the wardroom, right? We get that piece, but family members should be taken care of. You know, is the same. But we've had the same ABA therapist since he was
7 years.
diagnosed. Yeah. And so she's
5 or 6.
5 years. And so she's taught us these little tricks of the trade. We do social stories. So like, for instance, when COVID hit and he was getting ready to go back to school and wearing a mask, we had to kind of, it's basically like a storybook of like, hey, this is what COVID is, and this is why you got to wear a mask. And, so we really do a lot of in-depth, before we go on an airplane. Okay, this is what's going to happen. We get on a plane. We're going to stand in a long line, and then we're going to go on a plane. Then you have to sit down. Once they start talking, you have to watch a video. You know, so we really have to break it down. We have to do it multiple times so that he understands it. Because again, just kind of going on the whim does not work with Nathaniel, you know. So, but going back to the percentages, oh yeah,
he's a kid of numbers. He will tell you what you don't know and remind you that you don't know. He is a riot. I mean, it is a million crossroads a day with him. And, you know, as parents, we've come to those crossroads, you know, it seems like every second of the day. And what he's taught us is patience, you know, to go back for a second, if we could have the opportunity to have him be a normal, you know, behaving child, we call it extraordinary ability. But if, you know, we were afforded the opportunity to make him normal, there's no way we would take it. He has taught us more with him coming into our life than we could have ever imagined having a normal child. So what we saw as the first couple of years as a challenge is now 100% reward every day. Even with the meltdowns, you know, we understand now 5 years ago, meltdown in the hospital or in the airport, Stephanie's ready to rip people's heads off, you know.
Stop looking at my child.
Yeah. I mean, Disney, we went to Disney one time and people were making faces, you know, waiting in line for the rides. We're both getting ready to get thrown out. But now it's patience. You know, it's a virtue that we've learned through him and his extraordinary ability. And the kid is awesome. And at any moment, he's going to come back here just to see what we're doing on the camera, and you'll see. He's going to steal the show. I promise.
I hope so.
We don't like to say disability. We always like to look at their abilities, you know, what they can do. And that's what we really try to highlight with Nathaniel.
That's exactly how that's how I dealt with the issues that we were, you know, working through with Ty. I didn't grow up thinking he had any sort of disability. It was just, hey, this is how it is, and you need to figure out life, and we're going to figure this out together, especially as a parent. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, what advice would you give parents that stumble across this video and watch it, because it's going to go out on the interweb and be there forever? So, you know, if you have a family who's got a child that's on the spectrum and, you know, they're dealing with that challenge phase, they're not in the blessed phase yet, what advice would you give them to motivate them?
Well, I think that it's, you know, one thing that we were offered when I first took over as the part of the command tour, you go to Fleet Family, so and kind of introduce yourself and go over the programs. And we have a wonderful EFM rep on the base, and she's like, "Hey, you should come over and tell your story." And so usually we would go over there once a month and talk to the EFM, you know, the new personnel that are going to come in to be in charge of that program, and talk to them about what they can do. And I think the thing we always tell either, you know, the sailors, or even if we have other family members that are like, "Hey, I'm struggling, my child was just diagnosed." So we're a lot of chat groups as well. Someone told us when it first happened, it gets easier or it gets better. And I'm like, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I mean, we used to spend, you know, $500 in baby food a month at least, you know, when Nathaniel was 3 and 4 years old.
When she says baby food, she's talking about these little pouches,
right?
That campers take to go in the woods for, you know, 30 days because he had a texture issue.
Yeah. So we would, for 2 to 3 years, I think we'd go to Walmart and just pull cases off of the shelves. And we were lucky to do it, you know, because of, you know, what, you know, our pay grades are. We can only imagine what the junior sailors. So we just try to tell them, you know, just to give them a piece of our story, and then also reach out and ask for help. I had a young sailor come into my office, and we sat there, we were doing a check-in, and we got all the way through the check-in, and finally I said, well, you know, let me tell you a little bit about me, you know. And we always start, you know, hey, we're dual military, you have an EFM child, blended family. And as soon as I said EFM, he said, "Oh, do you mind me asking, you know, what the EFM is for?" And so I told him it was for Nathaniel. I said he has autism. And he's like, yeah, my son just got diagnosed and he's 2 years old and we don't know what to do. And I'm like, would he have even said anything like that if we hadn't just offered up our experience?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge piece. But if any advice, I think, is you look at the good things. Remember the good things. Nathaniel may not ever eat a hamburger. We're okay with that. Okay, fine. Yeah. But you know what? He's wicked smart when it comes to reading. I mean, the kid is off the charts. I mean, he's probably at a 3rd or 4th grade level when he comes to reading. It's like, how did you know that word? Spelling. He doesn't have to study for a spelling test. It's almost like I don't know if he memorizes it, but so look at those good things. Don't always get focused on the bad things. And really, honestly, I don't say screw everybody else because I don't want to sound negative. That's not motivating. But that's between you and your family, your inner family. You're going to have, maybe outside family members, other friends saying, oh, they'll grow into it, or, oh, they'll come around in their own time. It's between you and your inner family. Those are the decisions that, that are most important. Sorry, I talked a lot.
No.
I rambled on.
You didn't. I would tell a family that's being affected by this to take a deep breath, let it out. It's going to be okay. I can promise you that when we were diagnosed, you guys, New York was deployed. It was earth shaking. I mean, I had no idea what to expect. We've had, the Weavers and Isbells have had their share of turmoil and struggle with the C's or with underways. I went to the hospital. Heather was the first one to show up at the hospital for us. One way that we make it work is the close-knit family, we call it. It's not a network, it's a family. If you're operating under a network, then you've really underestimated the power of friendship and professional family ties that, are there to help each other. I would tell the family to take a deep breath and exhale, and it's going to be okay. What I would also advise is for all these rock stars out here watching the broadcast right now is to don't take for granted what this program is. The Exceptional Family Member Program is, here we are, a senior chief and a warrant officer that were diagnosed and had to, just catapult into a program. We had no idea what it meant. And we were lost. Frustrated and pissed off and just angry at the world because it was what we thought was a broken system. And if we felt like that with more than 50 years of service, imagine what that brand new E3 that just had a child that was, being in the same position we are. And, ironically, or it's sad to mention that this is a program it's a collateral duty, and it's not a good collateral duty that everybody likes to have. It's not the CFL. It's not. So just really take careful consideration about what this would do for a sailor and the impact you can have in their life when they are diagnosed with it.
So I have something. Steph, you mentioned during your check-ins that, you mentioned your story. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that you guys use social media to share your story because, a lot of people are like, no, I keep my personal business personal. And you guys have chosen to share your story because of this, because you want to be approachable to people who may need, who may say, man, I know exactly how they feel. And, so what got you guys to the point where your servant heart put you in a place to want to share all of these things with the world?
Just because of our experience alone, again, we talked about it. We were lost and confused, and it's not easy to navigate. And even for the services out in town, it can be kind of confusing, and they can be expensive. ABA, thank gosh we're in the military because we don't pay anything. ABA is a very expensive therapy that, when we went to like it's called Family Day Cafe, and it's down in Orlando, and it's all types, I say, members with abilities, right? And we learned that it was very, very expensive for ABA. I mean, we get the bill, every month, with how much it's costing, but a lot of people are not afforded that. So we decided to go and share. I mean, it's just, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to help somebody? And it may just be when we were first diagnosed, we just wanted someone to say, you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. And that happened when I went to a course. It was called Stomp in Mayport. And it's specialized training of military parents. And it's really talking about and how to navigate, because with school, Nathaniel has an IEP, so an individualized education plan. We had no idea. We didn't know that he could go to school when he was 3.5 years old. Mm-hmm. So why would we not want to share that? Now, we have usually a disclaimer, if we invite you to our house, that means that we're comfortable, and Nathaniel's comfortable. And he may run around in his underwear, or he may have a meltdown, but we're okay with that. When we had the Chiefs miss out last year after the results had come out, I'm like, hey, I'll put a disclaimer out there. Nathaniel has autism, right? So he may have some moments, but it's okay. Don't feel bad for us. Don't, if he starts screaming or whatever, but we're so open to that because we want to help, just anybody. It could be just a simple, hey, you're going to be okay. And it's, we also like to document kind of like how far Nathaniel was gone. It took 1.5 years for him to be able to get a haircut. 1.5 years. So, and this was like, you talk about that repetitive, therapy. So first it was putting on a cape, right? And he did that for 2 minutes. And then after they did that, over a course of time, then it was, okay, now we're gonna have you sit in a chair for 5 minutes. So we did that for over a course of time. Right now we're just gonna turn on the clippers. And that was over a course of time, And so, I mean, it took a very long time for him to get, that's how it is with him eating. You can't just say, hey, here, try this new food. It's like, first you gotta, touch it. And then you got to taste it or smell it. And then you got to taste it. And then you got to take a bite. And it could take years to actually happen. So we're open to it because we just want to help.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing here, talking to folks and sharing your story. We appreciate that, really. All right. So 2 last questions. Heather said she was going to ask one. So go ahead and ask.
So we probably know the answer, but what's your motivator? What motivates you? Each one of you. I'd love to know what gets you up in the morning.
Her.
Him.
That's cheating.
Good answer.
For me, it's just, I love not knowing the next minute. I love not knowing what the future holds. And, I didn't know this or didn't feel it or understand it as a young airman. But, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I wanted everything structured. I wanted to know what was going to happen the second I woke up. I wake up now with everything that's happened to us over the last 5 to 10 years, and not everything. This is not how anyone would write it out. Our life is not a story that we would have written. Now I'm like, you know what? Bring it. I'm excited. I don't care what happens. We're going to handle it. We've already handled it. So the more chaotic, the better for me. So I'm ready. The only thing I would change is our 19-year-old sets his alarm every 15 minutes, 3 hours before he wakes up. He does not hit his alarm, So, for me, the motivation is not knowing what the day brings. And that's what excites me. So.
Oh gosh, it's
and coffee.
And coffee, yeah, of course, coffee. Gotta have coffee.
Most people, it motivates them, yeah.
That's a tough question, and I say it's tough just because I have a lot of motivators. We look at everything as a blessing, as everything as an opportunity. We never look at something that's, and this goes back to, how we handle things as dual military, or, hey, one of us has to deploy, or the blended family. So we have some rough moments here. I mean, I'm not saying that our house is perfect. We have a couple teenagers, and they're all kind of grown into their own. But, and then for the short time that I have left in the Navy as well, it's, I can sit there and say sailors, I can say Nathaniel, but I think it's more of the will to never quit. I guess if that is the best way to explain it, is as long as there's somebody out there relying on me, which I may not know. I may get up and be like, all right, what, kids are moved out, Rob's doing his own thing, right? But somebody may need me. And this isn't to make it sound like it's all about me, but I may have that encounter with somebody at a grocery store, and we may have just exchanged a simple conversation, and they say, you know what? I appreciate that. I really needed that today. I think that is kind of my motivation, just to.
That's my life.
To keep going.
People. It sounds like your motivation is people.
I'm an introvert. I am an extreme introvert. If you would not know it, I get very nervous. Like doing this, I was like, I think I'm gonna have a panic attack. But when I get comfortable around people and people that I know that are genuine, I tell you what, you can't shut me up, and I do love people. I think that there's not enough of kindness in the world, and we're looking forward to, after our next chapter of the military, really just trying to give back to the community and the things that we're passionate about.
So that leads to my last question, and this is becoming kind of my my signature question that I wrap up with. What does success look like to you? What does it look like? When it's all said and done, what does it look like? And it could be, when you're sitting in your rocking chair on your front porch and you're both 99 years old and you're looking back on life. What does success look like?
We made a comment the other day. We were talking about this, because we did. Remember, we're talking about what is the definition of success?
Being invited to a webcast. We're famous.
After the previous guest you've had on,
if this is the pinnacle, man, you're setting the bar really low.
We are folk.
I told my mom, I was like, I think he got it wrong, Mom. I was like, he had some pretty important people on before us, but honestly, we said there. We want to give back, and I think our definition of success is, maybe there's that one person out there that says, you know what, I talked to a random person, or hey, you know what, Senior Chief Weaver this, or Chief Warner for this, or even our kids saying our parents taught us this. It's not the money, it's not the things, right? It's really just the experiences that we've had, and going back, I guess, to people. We want to go and do more for the homeless, and just because. We were complaining about salt and chlorine pool the other day, and I was like, are you kidding me? We're complaining about this, right? So I think that's our definition of success, is being able to just like perfect analogy, sitting on our rocking chairs in our back porch or on front porch, whatever, enjoying a cup of coffee, maybe having a good small group of friends, and knowing that we never intentionally tried to screw anybody over. We always tried to do the right thing. It cost some friends because they didn't see what we were trying to do, but having that character integrity. I know that's kind of almost like a cookie cutter answer, but we really honestly believe that.
I was going to say to be in the next Bartles and James commercial. I'm just kidding. That's our age, I'm showing our age.
It is, yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I think that success is getting a phone call at 3:00 in the morning from someone that's not your sailor. Mm-hmm. Hey, I need your help. Someone reaching out to you and asking your advice on a topic that you're not familiar with, but they don't know that. They just think that you're someone that's going to give them solid advice. So we both, I'm sure all of us have seen those sailors that came in years ago as an airman, and now they're chiefs or warrant officers or LDOs or something, sure, that's great, promoting your sailors, but what do they do out of uniform? They call you. Do they ask your advice on life issues? That to me is what success would be. So,
yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, I asked that question because I think it's pretty telling of the individual's character when, depending on the answer. I really do. I think it really says a lot about people. People love to armchair quarterback leaders, especially, and figure out, what their intent in life is because they're upset because they did or did not get something. But when you really ask a leader what success looks like, the majority of the time, they will go back to the people that they led. They won't go back to the titles they've earned, the money they've made. Not a leader, an entrepreneur. All day long they can talk about money if they want to. It's the goal in life, right? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with pursuing a goal that doesn't look like that. But I would say that any leader that doesn't put people first isn't a leader at all. So it's very telling. It's a question that I get, not the same question, but or the same answer, but an answer that's along those lines. It always kind of boils down to influencing people and seeing people achieve greatness because of your influence. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story. Really appreciate it. I'm not really pleased about the Georgia shirt, but beyond that, I appreciate everything else.
Hey, rumor has it that Justin Fields wears a Georgia tank top under his Ohio State jersey every game.
Yeah, whatever. He plays for Ohio State. I don't care.
Hey, he's going to win a Heisman for him too. So
it's been great having you on. Did you have any last words or?
We just, I think we're just thankful just to giving us this opportunity. Again, I was like, man, we had some really high hitters before us, but we're just normal people, just trying to do what a majority of all of us are trying to do. And we're trying to raise our kids right. We're trying to support each other. We're trying to, make the world a better place. I mean, so
and that's
you guys, and you've kind of real quick before you sign me off, right? You have deflected a lot to us, but people don't know what you guys have done for us. And Rob, and I'm going to steal it for a minute, so you're going to just have to entertain me. You asked me the question, right? But
I have no idea where this is
never
going.
forget the simple facts behind it. Heather went to go see Rob in the hospital. It may seem like, oh, that's just something that I need to do, right? But it was just a simple act like that. You've always answered our phone calls. You've always been there for us. Anytime I've been in the area or, you guys have come down, we've always tried to make sure that we can spend time with each other. But that time is valuable because we know that you're genuine. We know that you care. And so we're very thankful. And one thing we didn't talk about is our experience with autism and blended family. One of the biggest things that has really kind of helped us is our chain of command. When you have a supportive chain of command that is willing to help you through these, kind of, I'll say, life lessons, right? But it's life changing. I may only be there for 6 hours, but when I come there for those 6 hours, I'm gonna work my butt off. And so I know that you were part of that chain of command, when we were going through some of our darkest moments. So thank you very much. Love you, Heather.
Love you too.
Well, last but not least, before we sign you off, and we're gonna go to full screen. You guys stick around. We'll talk after the broadcast is over. But you're not, compared to whoever else I've had on these shows. You're not just normal people. You're not just regular people. You're very special people. You mean a lot to us, Heather and I. And, again, remember what I said, it's not about title. It's about what you do in life. So regardless of the rank you achieve, regardless of where you're at and, where you maybe cut the ties in the Navy and move on in life, it's about the people you influence. It's about the people you impact. And you have been just as impactful as anybody else that I've talked to in the last few weeks. So both of you, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you. Love you to death. And stick around. We'll do like a little after show thing here. But thanks again. We appreciate you. Hey, for everybody out there watching who stuck around for these last 45 minutes, really appreciate you listening in. I hope you took something away from this. We're gonna continue to expand in the next coming weeks. I'm gonna have a singer who's a veteran, who is a FMF corpsman, who now travels the country. He's a patriot. He does very patriotic songs. His name is Dave Bray. So if you want to check him out at Dave Bray USA, really look forward to having that talk with him in the coming weeks. Probably not next week, but the week after. Look for us on October 17th. And remember that cup isn't half empty. It's not half full. It's just waiting to be refilled. And get out there, motivate. Love you. Mean it. Bye, everybody.